All right. Everybody, welcome. We're going to give it a minute while people are still joining. And JR, I am going to ask you a question. So it's not dead
Yes.
air while everybody's joining. I'm going to ask you to share with the audience something, a fun fact about yourself that people wouldn't know about you unless you told them.
Well, one of the things I just learned is both of us have twins. So that was kind of interesting. I have twin 19-year-old girls, both in college, and just sent one back off to school. She had to go early. She plays soccer, and she just left this week. And then the other one, I'm in Tennessee, so it's tough. So she goes to Alabama, so there's it's in sitting in Knoxville where UT is, and having a daughter in Alabama, you get a lot of weird looks, but
Yeah.
very proud of her. But also, I cut my own hair. I have since I was 18, trying to save money throughout my life, and just kind of stuck with it. So there's that. A couple of them.
I love it. Those are great facts. So we're veterans of the same war, as I like to say to other twin parents. I mean,
Yeah,
man.
I'm just a little bit ahead of you. I'm on through World War I and II, and you're
Yeah.
just getting started with your twin phase.
Yeah, mine are just turning five, so totally different chapters. I could learn a lot from you.
Yeah, there's a lot to learn.
Well, let's kick this off, JR. I'm really excited to share this. You're an excellent customer. I really appreciate you coming on with us. Let's do a quick intro for everybody who's here. The topic is how winning the hearts and minds of mortgage investor groups organization led to 80% savings in VOIE verifications and 100% improvement in the conversion of VOIEs with Truv. I want to make sure everybody knows that's why you're here. You've come to the right
Yep.
place. JR, you're EVP of Sales and Production at Mortgage Investors Group. And I'd like you to just give a little bit of background about yourself, maybe how you got into the industry, and a little bit about Mortgage Investors Group as well.
Sure. Well, the EVP is my title. I think more of my role is a lot of why I'm here, trying to make our lives easier for the production team. And my background, I started in the business in '96 and started as a loan officer. Um, went into management, have been into retail sales management for most of my career. I was president of a mortgage company for a period of time, been with a couple large banks, small community bank, and also IMB. So I've kind of run the gamut as far as mortgage providers, and has taught me a lot. I sit at the home office, so I'm involved in sales and run the production group, but also very active in the operations side, and working with our operations team on a lot of these decisions. So it's a good mix, and it gives me a good background to be able to speak to why we're here today.
Awesome. Well, I like you personally and professionally, JR. I think you're really cool. Everybody, this is going to be a real dialed in conversation. We are here to see the success that MIG has had with Truv, Mortgage Investors Group has had with Truv, and JR is just the person to do that for us. So we're going to kick it off by saying, let's talk about before Truv. Like before you implemented Truv, what were you doing with VOIE before, and what made you search for the change?
Well, we have always been um, looking for advancing in technology. So we've been out in the forefront of that, and we had tried different vendors in the past. And really, how we've decided a lot of our vendors over the years is the leadership team would get together, we would see a couple demos, compare vendors, and then make a decision. And a lot of times, what we found, especially in the VOE VOI space, is you don't really know. All the demos work, right? So you see a demo, you say, okay, this company is a little cheaper. They advertise this, they focus on that, and let's try them. And in this case with True, we had a couple other providers, and we weren't shutting anybody off. We had multiple vendors, and we were trying to figure out which one would be the best. And so we were just having some challenges and some specific issues. And so we said, okay, instead of just seeing another demo that obviously the demo is going to work, let's go to the conferences and make a point of talking to the vendors, and not just that, but talking to other mortgage companies and our partners in the business. And that's really how we came across Truth. So it was more around word of mouth and other people that are already using it, as opposed to going directly to Truv. So and it was a good experience. And I think it was very helpful for us because we knew enough at that time as to what challenges we were trying to solve for. So, for example, cost is a big factor, but it's not the only thing, right? It's what we were needing was data accuracy. So when we get a VOE back, if we were going through the IRS, you would have limited information returned. You may not get the start date. You may not get a breakdown of commissions and overtime. But what we found with Truv and in our test cases in our pilot group was, oh, this is great. We get real start dates. We get accurate data. It's not missing. It's not incomplete. It was a much better return of the information, and that was really the game changer for us. And we went from 25% conversion to we're at 50% right now. And in the VOE space, that's actually a very good percentage. And then the other thing Truv provided us was a list of the payroll providers that they work with. So we knew going in if it was something we want to try. So we weren't sending customers into a portal, clicking on a link, trying to find their password, doing all that stuff, knowing that those companies don't provide the information anyway. So for a lot of those reasons, it was easy for us to land with Truv. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. So I was going to ask you about, and you covered a little bit about this in terms of your decision making, in terms of deciding factors for choosing Truv, and you covered, touched on cost. We all know cost of verifications have gone up by hundreds of % over the last couple of years,
right?
And so that's why this category is being created for consumer permission platforms. But what I find really interesting is the accuracy of the data is just as high up there in your list of priorities, which is fantastic. And you have high conversion, which is really fantastic also. So you saw that great improvement in conversion. Can you talk about the ease of onboarding? How was that experience?
So again, what might typically be a top-down management decision pushed to the field, it became more of a, hey, let's try this out. And we went out and we actually asked for volunteers as our pilot group. And the volunteers were folks that may have voiced challenges with other providers. It may have been folks that really are invested in advancing technology and they want to know how the technology works and how to simplify things. It may be a millennial group. And so for various reasons, we just said, hey, who wants to try this out? And we got a good following. Then they were influencers because they were already buying in versus us telling them this is what they needed to use. And then really what we did was we began promoting the wins to the rest of the team. So we have a monthly loan officer call, we have branch manager calls, we have operations meetings weekly. And so we were defining and able to do that through examples of why this is working better. And then the other big distinction we had as far as adoption was in our demonstration to the sales team and all the production folks, which includes processors and everybody in our world that's all under production. The adoption was picked up because AJ, our rep, he showed us what the customer experience looked like. And then we also had reporting to kind of tell us, hey, we're tracking well. This market's doing well. We're getting this many orders. Okay, we're starting to see the momentum. And he also explained to us in the demo to the team was this is how you solve problems and troubleshooting and how you prevent or anticipate or very simple things that the loan officers then become more trusted advisors when they're able to say, hey, don't do these couple things when you log in, avoid this, avoid that. Or the other thing is the loan officers are able to answer their questions. And also the big thing that we found was to be able to change your password when logging into your payroll provider. Just like me, I don't know my password. It's saved in the computer and it changes every 30, 60 days. So it's a bear to try and remember that. So it was really easy for customers, and a lot of loan officers just recommended this. Hey, if you don't remember it, just change it, and then you can always change it back or whatever. But it was simple to change it through your system, and that helps a lot, because a lot of folks get stuck and they say, well, I don't know the password, I don't want to deal with this, and then they move on, and then it becomes more of a frustration. So there was a lot of reasons that we had some early adoption beyond what the company's looking for as far as data accuracy and cost. It was the user experience and the loan officer experience as well.
I
Does that
love
answer
it.
your question?
You
That's a
know, you
long
touched.
way around.
No, no, JR, that's great. I mean, you touched on 2 points that I think, one, the strategy of showing success from operators in the field, like loan officers in the field that are successful using this and using that as a case study for the rest of the organization. That to
Right.
me is the blueprint for how you roll out technology. And you did do that with a small pilot group of volunteers, and it's awesome that you've got that in the organization, people willing to go and do that. And then I assume after they proved out the success, you were able to put Truv towards the top of the waterfall, as most people have a verifications waterfall. Is that correct?
Yeah. So again, we have replaced Truv with or replaced another provider with Truv, but we still leave a couple options, because some are just more comfortable. Some do capture certain employers, or there's certain needs. If you need a 4506, you may use a different provider. Whatever the case is, there are some that are better in certain areas, but I'd say overall Truv captures the biggest portion. But we do allow that waterfall. We instruct, hey, start with Truv, unless you can look at the list and say this employer is not on there. Then you go to the other services, and we all know that there's bigger services that are more expensive, that kind of the have tos sometimes, and that's still available. And then there's some that we are getting ready to start the asset verification portion, but we do have others that do assets and employment already. So we didn't remove those from the capabilities, but we've got enough adoption and enough usage of Truv that we are about to expand into the asset piece of it.
Well, I love what you also touched on when you were talking about being a partner, to the organization, a true tech partner. It's not like we're getting on, our CS team isn't getting on with your team and doing a dog and pony show. They're giving real world
Right.
examples of this is how you should be operating with the software to get the most return, right? And I love that. Thank you for touching on that. So let's jump into the meat and potatoes. People want to hear about the success. What would you, if you had to list those top couple success metrics or results that you feel? I think you've touched on a couple of them,
Yep.
but please go ahead.
Sure. So I kind of look at it from two lenses, right? There's the company, and there's the cost, and there's the data accuracy. So obviously, we want all that to flow through the system and be the same as when we start. And the data accuracy is a huge one. So the fact that we were seeing complete information being returned was extremely valuable. So that flows all the way through to our HMDA reporting, and we know that it's not changing. It's the same in the AUS. It's the same in the HMDA data. It's the same all the way through the system, and we don't have to worry about it. And then we get our day one certainty. We have all of those pieces that come together and reduces our risk. So you take the risk component, and then the cost, like we talked about, and like you said, we touched on, the cost is speaks for itself. I mean, it was half the cost, and even a little bit more than that, even a little bit better than that. And when you start talking about a scenario where you've got previous employment, maybe three employers in 2 years, and you've got a re-verification at the end, and you're two borrowers. I mean, you're getting up to the hundreds and a couple $100s for one loan transaction, and it's tough to try and pass all that on to the borrower. But this would save us $150 in one transaction. You multiply that over a few hundred loans a month, and it adds up, obviously. And I know some companies will pass that on to the borrower, but that still doesn't feel good, right? You're in the middle of the process, you're sending them a COC, and it's another $50 or another $100, and they want to know what that is, and just creates a concern and a question that you really want to try and avoid. So we keep our costs down. We disclose a number that allows us some leeway, but we pick up savings, and then when the customer sees a lower number at the end, that's a win. So we're not increasing it through the process. So that's really the MIG side of it and the business side of it. And then, like we talked about with the customer, and one of the other things we noticed, and I don't know if this is specific to Truv, but we noticed a benefit when we went to Truv was being able to go to previous employers and collecting that information. That was another one where if the customer is not employed, a lot of times they can't log into their payroll provider. We did find access to that to be a little bit better, and we've been utilizing it for previous employment and things like that. So that's where the loan officer sees the value, and then the customer. We don't even have the integration into our LOS yet. I know you're integrated in a lot of LOSs, and that's great, but we still use it in the forefront, because we'll just send the link, gives us an opportunity to explain, here's what I'm trying to do. If you have any trouble, here's a couple things you can try or a couple things you can avoid. And then the customer expects the link. They know to get their password. They see that. We bring it back, we upload it. It's not a big deal. We're not going out of our system for 5 or 6 different things. And we're also not sending VOEs where you worry about a fax, an email, calling somebody to fill it out, follow it up, a mistake being made, filling it out manually, all that kind of stuff you're avoiding. So we're doing this within minutes versus a day, 2 days, a week, things like that. So all of that is the win on the customer side.
JR, you're a pro. You know what I think most of your peers need to hear, and you're touching on all of them right now. You're talking about
Yeah.
savings, customer experience, accuracy of data, the customer support, D1C and AIM approval. You're talking about everything that they need to hear. So really, I think the success, you've nailed it already. What I would ask you is, if there's anybody who's kind of in your shoes before you signed up with Truv, might be sitting on the fence right now. This will be the last question I'll ask, because you really have killed it on this, just kind of laying it all out there. What would you say to that person right now if they're on the fence right now?
Well, yeah, and for somebody in my role, and another part of the consideration that I haven't even touched on really is where the industry is going. It's that traditional method versus the modern solution. And whether it's appraisals, credit, employment, income, assets, all of that's going to be data driven. And at some point, it's going to be 100% data driven, just like most industries. And Truv is out in front of where that is headed. And so we are finding that they're the first to kind of deliver the next piece, the next step, the next ease of doing business. And I think that's what you want to consider, is who are you partnering with going forward, not just who solves your challenge today, but when we get to a point where you're hitting a button and you're transmitting your data to the AOS, to HMDA, to the investor, and anybody that's involved, anybody that needs to see that, an auditor, post-close, anything, and you want to make sure that that's accurate. Truv has really been the company that makes that a lot easier for us. And that's how you get off the fence and say, okay, this is more of a long-term solution than, hey, I heard that this company is doing really well, or they have the next best thing. That it's really, partnering with somebody in the future that you can kind of trust, and is going to save you money, protect your company, make the customer experience better, and it checks all those boxes. So
JR,
that's what I would kind of
awesome. That was an awesome send off right there. Thank you so much. To everybody who joined, I couldn't ask for a better example. I actually would much rather have our customers talk about how much they like us than us selling ourselves. So thank you so much, JR. I really appreciate you.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thanks, Richard. I appreciate the invite, and happy to participate. So
Yeah,
good getting to know you too.
you too. Enjoy those twins.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.
See you, everybody.